All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start. Día 68. And it looks like it's just us again for today. Okay, so last class we saw how to do the listenings, the ones that were more like a lecture, more like an academic class. And today we're going to see the types that are more like a conversation. You know, the ones that you can see in day-to-day life, the ones that are more common and less formal. So we're gonna go ahead and check those out today. Yeah. So regarding, any notes to take or anything, lo mismo que para los otros, ¿no? Es muy clarito en la entonación and where they put the emphasis on words, on the kind of attitude they have with their voice. Eso, ¿no? Todas esas cosas van a aportar to the meaning of the listening, and the questions are probably going to ask about that as well. Okay, so atención a esto, a tomar apuntes. So we're going to go ahead and listen to this conversation. Usually, they can be any conversation, but they tend to be about a university context. Students with their professors or young people looking for work opportunities, things like that. Okay. So we're going to listen.
Now listen to a conversation between a student and a professor.
Hi, Professor Carlson. Thanks for letting me meet with you on such short notice.
Hey, my door is always open. During my office hours, at least.
Yeah, so I'm confused about how to do research for my essay.
Right. In your email, you said you weren't sure how to find valid sources of information online.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember what you said in class about not just using random stuff we find on the internet. And I get that, I do. But what kind of online sources can we use?
Well, that really depends on the subject you're looking into. What's your essay about again?
I'm writing about the effects of river pollution, how it impacts wildlife and people.
Okay, yeah. So if you want to find really reliable info on that kind of pollution, you'll want to look at the reliability of the author. And if...
Yeah, but what if the article doesn't give the name of the author? I found a really good study on a government website. It looked at a major river in California, measured the pollution, and showed some damage to the local animals with photos and statistics. But there's no listed author and...
Well, that's...
But I can still trust government research, right? Even with no author?
Well, that's what I was trying to say. You can check to see if the source is sponsored by a trustworthy organization. Governments have a lot of interest in regulating pollution and figuring out its effects. So, yeah, that website is probably a valid source for your paper.
So, to find a valid source, I just need to check the author and the website. Company? The sponsor?
Yes, I mean, not just those two things. To see if something you read online is valid, you really have to look at the whole picture. The author, the website sponsor. Also, you need to look at the year. For example, a report on river pollution from a decade ago could be outdated. The situation could have gotten better or worse since then. And then bias. You need to look for bias.
Bias?
Yes, bias. Does the author or publisher have a reason to lie or distort the facts? Suppose, for example, say you find a write-up on river pollution by a very well-educated scientist. But the scientist researcher's wife is CEO of a company that actively pollutes rivers. In a situation like that, the author could be biased. Motivated to understate the amount of damage industrial pollution does.
I think I get the idea, but man, this is confusing. So much stuff to think about when I look at a source.
Well, it sounds like you have found one pretty good source so far, those government stats. But if you still feel a little shaky, I'll tell you what. email me links to the next couple of sources you find, and I'll give you some feedback. Tell you if you're still on the right track.
You'd do that? Thanks. I'll take you up on that.
All right, so are there any questions? Do you have any questions about any words or algo, cualquier cosa que no haya quedado clara? No. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and see the questions.
Sorry, teacher. I was speaking with.
Okay.
I was saying that I don't know. I don't know sure if I actually I understand well, but they say like a word like lies, liar, like liar or lies, or mentiras.
Más o menos en qué parte, when they were discussing what or lying in general,
Yes, I think it
motivation
was.
to lie. See,
Ah,
when they were talking about why a source may not tell the truth about any information, and y da el ejemplo de que, si la esposa de este investigador es de la empresa, entonces puede mentir about, so
Okay.
that was the context.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, it was just.
Okay, ahora sí, entonces. So a big, to get the general idea, una que kind of ask for the main idea of the listening. Why does a student visit the professor? Can you read the options, please? And then you tell me which one you think it is.
To get advice on research methods or for his essay. To ask if government websites are reliable source. To get permission to mail the professor for future advice. To learn how to properly cite source he has used. It is the first one.
To get advice on research methods. This one, right? Yeah, because same thing as since we're asking for kind of like the main idea, all of these are details. Son solo detallitos, y ese es el que más, well, that's more complete. And yes, that's the right one. Good. Next one. Okay. What does the professor say about sources with no listed author? Can you read the options, please? And you tell me which one you think it is.
Okay. If the author is unknown, a student should look for other signs of the source reliability. If students find a source with no listed author, they should email the source to the professor for feedback. They cannot be seen as valid because there is no way of knowing if the author is qualified. Sources where the author is not named are often found on websites devoted to government research. No. Maybe the
If you're unsure between two, ¿cuáles dos serían?
The last one and the third one, maybe.
These two.
Yes.
More or less. I would go more for this one.
Okay.
Sources where the author is not named are often found on websites devoted to government research, because they were mentioned several papers, several resources where they talk about where they were done by the government. So sí menciona esto. So this is mentioned in the text. Como está pidiendo, what does the professor say? We have to kind of remember tal cual, no las palabras que tal cual ha dicho. So they do talk about government websites or government papers, but they also focus more on If the author is unknown, students should look for other signs of the source's reliability. I think that's the main focus of the question, al menos que when the student asks this, what do I do when there's no author? The answer the professor gives is focused on this, no looking for other signs of reliability.
Okay.
So let's go with this one. Yes, it's that one. They do mention this, but I think that lo más importante que responde the professor, no, it's this one. Okay, so according to the professor, what aspects of a source should the student look at? So choose 3 answers. So we're gonna read the options and we're gonna see if they apply or not. Can you read the first one, please?
Whether a source use both photos and statistics.
Do they mention this? Is it true?
Yes.
Whether a source uses both photos and statistics
Whether.
as a, okay, lo vamos a tachar, pero lo vamos a poner maybe. I think it's more of a maybe. Okay, next one. Possible dishonesty or distortion of facts on part of the author. Do they mention this?
Yes, I think yes, it mentioned, but
Yeah,
I
they
don't know.
do. See, towards the end, when they're talking about, justo eso que about lying and why an author may lie, yes, they do mention this, and that it's something important to look at when checking if a source is reliable. Let's see the next one. Can you read, please?
Which company or organization is exploring the website? Yes, that is mentioned too.
Yes, they also mentioned this one. Pero ese no se han acabado los 3. So let's see if the other 2 don't fit. Next one, the publication date of the source.
Yes.
They also mentioned this one. So alguno de estos hay que quitar. Which one do you think we could eliminate?
I think the first one.
Yeah, they don't really mention the photo part. This part isn't really 100% true. And finally, the last one, whether the source uses extreme language. Do they mention it or not?
No, it's not mentioned.
Yeah, the type of language, I don't really think they talk about the type of language at any part. So nos quedamos con estas 3. Do you agree with these 3? Any ones that could be
Yes.
different? All right, so we're gonna go with these 3. And yes, son esas 3. All right, next one. What will the student probably do after receiving advice from the professor? Can you read the options, please? And you tell me which one you think it is.
Okay, try harder to find articles where the author name is mentioned. Do more research and send the professor a follow-up email. Look for a new government website about pollution for variety in his sources. Re-examine other outdated sources that he has already gathered. The second one?
This one. Do more research and send the professor a follow-up email. Okay. Why wouldn't it be the first one, for example? Try harder to find articles where the author's name is mentioned. Does it say he's going to do that, or does it imply he's going to do that?
I think it's implied, but like the professor say that she will help him to look. So I think the first one is more implied.
And she straight up says, right, you can email me for follow-up email. He says, yeah, I'll follow you up on that, or I'll check up on you for that. So sí le dice, le confirma que sí te voy a escribir. So yes, it's Hold on, my internet is a little. Yes. And yes, it's correct. Okay. And next one, and it's the last one, I think. So we're going to listen to a part of the conversation and we have to interpret why the professor says this. All right, we're gonna give it a listen.
Listen again to part of the conversation, then answer the question.
Hi, Professor Carlson. Thanks for letting me meet with you on such short notice.
Hey, my door is always open. During my office hours, at least.
Why does the professor say this?
Hey, my door is always open. During my office hours, at least.
Okay, so why does she say this? She is amused that the student left her door open during office hours. Do you think it's this one?
Um, mm, no,
No, because she's not talking about literally
left.
the door open, right? So not this one. She is explaining why the student should not visit late at night. This one?
No, no.
No, she doesn't really mean this either. She's assuring the student that he is welcome to visit whenever she is available. Does this one sound true? Does she mean this?
Yes, I think so.
I think it's this one,
Yes.
right? She sounds very, welcoming, very a warm tone. So I think it's this. She's giving him assurance. And the last one, veremos por si acaso, she is joking about how much time she spends in her office. It also could be this, but it's more in the context of what he says beforehand. Es igual, siempre prestar atención al contexto, ¿no? ¿Qué le está diciendo él? What her role is as a professor, she kind of has to give him that assurance, esa ayuda. So yeah, I think it's this one. And yes, it's that one. Good. All right. That would be all for this first exercise. We're going to go ahead and see another one. Okay.
Okay.
I think nos alcanza para uno más. Okay, so again, this is in a kind of university context between a student and an administrator.
Listen to a conversation between a student and an administrator at the university's finance office.
Hi there. Can I help you?
I really hope you can. I'm worried I'm just really worried I'm going to be in trouble.
Oh, well, don't panic. Just relax. I'm sure we can deal with whatever's going on. What's the issue?
Well, I've received 2 separate statements about my tuition payments in the last week, and they seem to, it looks like they kind of contradict each other.
Uh-huh.
I've been a student here for 2 years, and I've never gotten any notice like this before. The language seems a little threatening, and I'm afraid that if I don't figure this out, I'll be kicked out of classes or something.
I can assure you that nobody's going to kick you out of class. We'll sort it out. Now, did you bring the letters with you?
Yep, I have them right here. The first one is similar to the reminder I get every month to make a payment, but
Here, let me see.
it has some extra language out of the norm there at the bottom.
Hmm.
It says something about penalty payments.
All right. And did you miss any payments that you know of?
No, I've never missed one.
That's strange. And what about the second notice you received?
That one says it's the final warning to make a payment, or else my enrollment will be canceled. That doesn't make any sense because it's the first warning I ever got.
Okay, are you sure these are the only two notices you got in the mail from us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, then it certainly seems like there's been an error, because if the statement were accurate, you would have received additional notices from us. Let me just look up your account in our database and see what the problem is.
Thank you so much. I'm just a little stressed out that something will go wrong with my classes.
Oh, sure. Just a moment while here we go. I think I found the problem. Did you make your last payment during a school holiday?
Sure. I mean, I think I did. I guess I made the payment during spring break. Is that a problem?
Well, you didn't do anything wrong, but it looks like there was an error in our system. The computer is supposed to automatically process payments when the offices are closed, but for some reason, your payment never went all the way through. It's still pending approval.
So why did I get only a final warning notice?
Well, I'm not completely sure, to be honest. We were coming back from a holiday, so there may have been some confusion.
Well then, I mean, what do I have to do to fix this?
Nothing at all. I'm approving the payment now and noting on your account that the error was ours. Just make your next payment on time and you won't have any more problems.
Wonderful. Thanks for taking care of this. That's a huge relief.
All right. Any questions about this one? Anything that wasn't clear?
No.
All right.
that's-
Claro, con esto. Okay. Let's see the questions. Again, the general idea. What problem does the student have? Can you read the options, please? And you tell me which one you think it is.
Okay. He received another student's tuition statement.
Tuition.
Tuition statements. He received a notice that his payment was late. He forgot to pay tuition during a holiday week. He has been barred for attending classes. The second one?
Mm-hmm. He received a notice that his payment was late. Yes, that's the main problem. So, yes, it's that one. I think the other ones are not true, straight up, or sí, ninguno. No hay ninguno que esté solo parcialmente. They're all just not true. So, next one. Okay, why does the woman initially believe that the notices were sent in error? Can you read the options, please, and you tell us which one you think it is?
Okay. The finance office does not normally send two notices in such quick successions. She is surprised by the student's claim to have never missed a payment. The computer system has malfunctioned. How you say that? Malfunctioned during other holidays too. A preliminary notice normally precedes the warning that the students receive. The last one.
This one, a preliminary notice normally precedes, yes, right? That's the thing that most surprises her, that if he has this wording, he should have had another warning beforehand. So sí es este. And yes, that's correct. Good. Next one. What can be inferred about the student? Okay, can you read the options, please? And you say which one you think it is.
He wants to stop getting notices from the college. His primary concern is begin allowed to attend classes. He wants to leave the tuition office quickly. He's worried about accidentally paying tuition. I can write
It's a hard one.
paying tuition twice. The second one?
Because he's mostly worried about, he mentions it at least twice, very, very quickly and in passing, but he does mention, oh, I'm not able to sign into this class, que da, 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 da. So yes, it's this one. More than anything, he's worried about his classes. And yes, good. Okay, according to the woman, when did the problems with the student's payment first begin? Directamente tell me, which one do you think it is?
Mm, the third one.
When you try to pay his bill during a holiday. Yes, como que the origin or the reason for his problem was that the system doesn't really work during the holidays. So yes. And finally, the last one. We're going to listen to part of the conversation. Hold on a sec. All right.
Listen again to part of the conversation, then answer the question.
So why did I get only a final warning notice?
Well, I'm not completely sure, to be honest. We were coming back from a holiday, so there may have been some confusion.
Why does the woman say this?
We were coming back from a holiday, so there may have been some confusion.
Okay, why does she say this? To speculate as to the cause of the computer error. Does this sound correct?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of answering the question. Why did this happen? It's more to say it was a computer error. But let's put it on maybe. Next one. To clarify in which time period an error was made.
Maybe too.
Maybe. She's kind of talking about all these things, but cuando como que todas pueden ser un poco ciertas, it's kind of checking which one best answers the question. So the question he's asking is, why did this happen? So it's not when did this happen or whose fault is it that this happened? It's kind of like the one that would best fit that question is this one. So we're gonna go todavía con esto. To suggest that the holidays can be disorienting.
No.
No, because it's not really a fault of anyone, any worker. It's more a computer error. So no, not que ver este. And last one, to offer an explanation for an oversight.
No.
This one is a little bit more general. It's kind of like all of these, pero en general. So I would be between these two. Between these two, the first one to speculate as to the cause or to offer an explanation. Which one do you think it is?
Maybe I think the last one.
Because it's a little more general. Because it is a computer error. She does mention that it was part of the system that didn't really work during that time. But I think the most general one that we can go with is the last one.
Okay. Yes.
Vamos a checar. And yes, it's that one. Okay. So we still have plenty of time. I don't know if you want to do one more of these kind of conversation type of listenings, or you want to try one more of the lecture types.
The lecture types can do,
Okay.
please.
All right, so let's see another one of the lectures. Which one do you think is easier? Which one? ¿Cómo has visto cada uno de ellos?
I think it's more easier is the conversation. that the lecture.
Yeah, because it's, it's language we hear day to day. It's a lot more simple. Okay, so let's go with the lecture one then. Same thing. No same pointers for listening, para tomar apuntes, and have your little paper ready to take your notes. And here we go.
Listen to part of a lecture in a world literature class.
We come now to a writer who spent her life balancing a lot of contradictions. She was a woman in a male-dominated society, a Danish citizen living in a British colony in Africa, and a colonist who expressed affection for the native people. Finally, but maybe most importantly, she produced works that are at the same time works that are both surpassingly beautiful and surprisingly complex. Some of you might already realize that I'm talking about Karen Blixen. Blixen, who wrote her most famous works in English, by the way, she took the pen name Isak Dinesen, under which she published several collections of short stories and 2 novels. Well, let's start with the 2 memoirs about her life in what is now the East African nation of Kenya. Blixen was born in Rungstedlund, Denmark in 1885. She moved to Africa in 1914 and lived there until 1931, farming coffee on her plantation, as she so memorably describes, at the foot of the Ngong Hills. Within 5 years of her return to Denmark, Blixen began compiling Out of Africa. The book was written with unmistakable talent. It proved she was a storyteller to be reckoned with. Her evocative descriptions defined the continent of Africa and its people for generations of Europeans. In 1960, she published additional stories about her time in Africa in Shadows on the Grass, a book of 4 stories about the East African people and tributes to the wild beauty of the landscape. But at the time Blixen lived there, the region was a colony of the British Empire. And many of her harshest critics point to vignettes in her memoirs, saying that they reflect the arrogance of the European colonizers, including Blixen. Kenyan novelist and critic Ngugi wa Thiong'o went so far as to label Blixen as, well, a racist, highlighting passages in which she describes her servant Kamante as a civilized dog, and another young African as a small black native bull calf. And I think we can all agree that those descriptions are a little unsavory, especially today. But you could also argue that she shows Africa as a society free of stilted European culture, which Blixen implied had fallen far from any connection to the natural world. Susan Brantley, a professor of Scandinavian studies, has said that today's critics are judging Blixen with the sensibilities of people who've never lived within a colony. She charges that many critics assume that as a white woman whose farm depended on the labor of the locals, Blixen must have behaved badly toward the African people. Still, it's important for us to consider those allegations of racism, regardless of how well Blixen wrote or even what her intentions were, because that backdrop can really affect the meaning of a story. Here's an example. One episode from Out of Africa that's drawn particular scorn, Kitosk's story, recounts the ordeal of an African boy who was severely beaten by an English settler and left in chains to die. Because Blixen's description of the trial doesn't explicitly condemn either the settler or the court system, critics have accused her of being a colonial sympathizer. In fact, Ngugi accuses her of the, and I'm quoting him directly here, literary glorification of the settler culture of murder and torture. On the other hand, according to Brantley, Blixen meant the inclusion of the story to be subversive to the British Empire. But her writing is so subtle that people misunderstand the intentions. The publisher of Out of Africa even asked Blixen to remove Kitosk's story because it might be embarrassing to the British. But she said she'd rather not publish the book at all if they insisted on removing that section. It's not surprising that Blixen's work has created controversy, but her memoirs are special because, unlike the works of other British colonial writers, she put the people of Africa at the forefront. And while she lived among them, Blixen took a personal interest in their affairs and in the education and health of the children. She was without a doubt invested in the community. And it's hard to untangle the institutionalized racism of the time and the mindset of the author herself within the story she told. It all becomes a bit mixed up. With that in mind, try not to make any judgments yourselves until we've read a few of her stories. We'll talk more about the debate once you've experienced Blixen's writing yourselves.
All right. For this one, any questions, any words, any part that wasn't clear?
No, no teacher.
Okay. Todo claro, entonces we're gonna go ahead and see the questions. All right, so the general main idea. Can you read the options, please? And you tell me which one you think it is.
Okay. The lifestyle of British colonial settlers in Africa. The subtitle of Karen Bicken's writing style. The contradictions and complexity of colonial Africa. The conflicting opinion concerning a colonial author. What do you mean subtlety?
Subtly.
Subtly.
Sutilmente. Subtle. So la sutileza, kind of. The subtlety of.
Okay, I don't know if it's the second one or the last one.
These two. Because overall, we're repeating about this author, right? Karen Blixen. So it could most likely be this one. We're talking about her style a lot. But all of the arguments kind of talk about the same thing as well. Not just this, but they mention this a lot in all the arguments they give. No, oh, that she's a good author because of this, because she reflects Africa, así es, así, or she's a bad author because she reflects colonial Africa, así es, así. So I think it's more this one. The emphasis is more on this one. Or what do you think?
Okay, yes, it's fine. It was in the second one or the last one.
Okay, yeah, I agree. So I think that they're both very about the topic, but this one is more general about the topic. So we're gonna go with that one. And yes, it's correct. Okay, so let's see the next one. Why does the professor discuss Kitoch's story? Tell me which one you think it is, directamente.
The second one?
Okay, to clarify the circumstances surrounding a controversial trial, because they are mentioning a specific case. This one's a little more difficult. Okay, let's see the other options. To refute the moral complexity of Blixen's stories. Okay, so kind of like to defend Blixen. In this part of the lecture, what's the tone of the professor? That's where I think she's kind of like defending this author as well. So I think it's a maybe for this one. Also poner como un maybe.
Okay.
This one also, to clarify the circumstances, because they're mentioning this specific case, I think it's also a maybe. This one, to provide an example of division between Blixen supporters and critics. At this point in the lecture, when she's mentioning this, ¿tiene que ver con esto?
I don't know. I don't think so because
She does
No.
mention this, but not related to, or I think not really related to this, right? No. Okay. So I don't think it's this one. And finally, the last one, to determine the opinions of those who admire Blixen's writing. Again, she's defending the author in this bit because she does give both points of view, but in this part she's saying that, oh, pero es así es asá la escritora. So I think it's more between maybe these two. Between these two, which one do you go with? ¿Te quedas con este o?
I think I will choose that one, the second one.
Okay, so we're gonna go with the second one. It's the third one, to provide an example between Blixen supporters and critics. She does mention it, pero justo en esa parte, I think she gives it more to support the author, pero bueno. All right, and next one. What is the professor's opinion of Karen Blixen's writing ability? Directamente to me, which one do you think it is? Her general.
Mm. She mentioned her memory is bad. I don't think it's related with her writing ability.
A memoir is it's different from a memory. You know, memory is just un recuerdo, but a memoir is a type of literature. No, it's kind of like una novela, pero una novela basada en tus recuerdos y tu vida real. So, but that's what they're referring to by memoirs, that type of book.
Okay. Maybe the second one.
Okay.
Or the first one.
I mean, juicios de valor is always kind of, unless they clearly state it, it's best not to assume. In this case, it would have been greater if she had written in her native language. Does she imply, where was she from? What was her native language?
She was from England? No. Yes.
She was from Europe, from
Denmark? Maybe?
Yes.
Denmark.
So her native language wouldn't have been English, it would have been Danish. Pero no implica, I think. She doesn't imply at any point that she should have written in Danish.
Maybe this, I don't sure. It's very difficult, this one, but she was very controversial. Her writings, maybe the third one, that it don't justify her controversial.
Since we're asking for her opinion, we have to look kind of for her exact words, you know, things that she very clearly said in the text or in the lecture. So when she's talking about her writing ability, I think it would be more between these two. She does mention that it's clearly recognizable, her writing style or her ability, that you can recognize it in her books. She doesn't really make this claim, I think, because this is very against, no? This statement is very much against the author. Lo que pese a que escribía muy bien, no justifica que haya escrito. She doesn't really have this position, the professor, right? She's not against the author. So I wouldn't say it's this one. Again, I wouldn't say it's this one porque implica, es como que un juicio de valor, and she doesn't really compare it at any point. So I would say between these two. But I don't remember exactly if she mentioned this part of her being a storyteller. I would go more for this one.
Okay.
So let's go with this one. Vamos a poner, ahora sí. Yeah, it was lost. So next one. Okay, according to the professor, which of the following are reasons that support accusations of racism in Blixen's work? Choose two answers. So two, but she mentions both sides, right? She mentions arguments on why this is a bad or controversial author and why her work also is good and has value. So this is the ones that support the accusations of racism. Vamos uno por uno. Can you read the first one, please?
It falls to denounce clear injustice in the colonial legal system. It portrays the local people as unwilling to provide their children education. It includes Native Africans as characters exclusively in servile roles. It describes two particular Native men by comparing them to animals.
Okay, the first one. Does she mention this about the author's work?
I don't think so.
Okay, clear injustice in the colonial legal system. This is the part that's a little maybe, right? I don't think she mentions the legal system at any point. This is un tal vez. No se deja así. Next one. It portrays the local people as unwilling to provide their children education. Is this true or not true?
She
She mentioned.
portrays the local people. She portrays the local people. But I don't remember if it's like unwilling to provide their children education.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they mentioned education also or their children at any point. That they do in passing, but I'm not sure if she really implies this. So it's also, I think, a maybe. Oye, hay alguno que te querías así con seguridad. Que yeah, she mentions this. O todavía ni-
I go for the third one, maybe that.
It includes Native Africans as characters in exclusively servile roles. Yes, I think that she does mention this as well. 'Cause she was European, right? And she lived there, so tenía esa diferencia de trato, kind of. And the last one, it describes two particular Native men by comparing them to animals. Does she mention this?
No.
She does. Actually, she mentions, or well, the professor mentions two stories in which are two descriptions in her work where she describes a character comparándolo con un animal. So
Okay.
this one she does straight up mention. And I think it also implies this one, but we're gonna see. We're gonna go with those two. It was the first one. Because while they don't mention the legal system directly, they do mention that, she had certain privileges or that she had, better treatments. And she didn't see the injustices or these things because of that. So, there are two more questions left, but por cuestión de tiempo, we're going to leave it there.
Okay.
Okay, so, ¿qué tal lo viste? This part, the whole listening part. Which one, is there anything that you found particularly difficult? ¿Alguna parte que, no sé, quieras ask for advice?
Yes, about this part, the lecture. I think it's more difficult. The questions.
Okay, how so more difficult? ¿Qué es lo que más te dificulta?
They put a lot of information in the questions that can like I don't really short because they give a lot of information. So maybe it's all right or all wrong.
It's kind of like looking at it for little pieces, ¿no? También ver tu pregunta in little pieces. If they ask, what is the professor's opinion, or what does the student say, or very puntualmente, cuáles son las palabras kind of de la persona, you have to remember their exact words and not look for something that's implied, pero algo que tal cual hayan dicho. ¿No? So ese pedacito es el que te da ese indicador. And the same thing in all the options, you have to kind of look at it by little pieces. This little piece isn't exactly, si te late como que esto podría ser, pero no podría ser. ¿Por qué no podría ser? No, look at little pieces and see, okay, this part is kind of incorrect. So, okay, so this part isn't true at all. So, pues, no es. No, si te genera dudas, con dudas entre varias, desmenúzalas en pedacitos.
Okay. I will do that. Teacher, I have a question. This application that you use,
Mhm.
We can use too, or it's only for
Yeah, I think you have to have a certain account. I'm not sure though. Te lo voy a preguntar, but I'm pretty sure you can just make an account with your email and
Okay.
entrar a practicar normal.
Yes, because
But
this was very difficult. This lecture.
Yeah, and they have a lot more options or a lot more exercises with these. I'm not sure if it's a paid platform though. O sea, si es una plataforma con pago y demás. That part I'm not sure. Pero puedes entrar a checar si te deja.
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Okay, so I will send you the poll. Y ahí la dejamos por ahí. Espera. Ay, el rato que mandé el- Ya está. Yeah, entonces llenas el poll and you can leave the meeting. So thank you for coming to class today, Fabiola.
No,
And-
thank you, because I want to do the test the next month, but actually I am not very sure about if I will take it or not. But because I need to have like 94 or 95 in my grade. And the last one I did the test, I get a 78 in my grade. So I need that score, but the scholarship that I want to apply, it's close like in the end of the month of.
Oh,
So that's I have to think this weekend if I will take the test or no. So
yeah, I think with a little bit more practice, like when would you have to take the test? ¿Cuándo esté programado el examen? Porque digamos puedes ya decidir, pero tienes más tiempo para to prepare.
yes, I have to send the application like the 31 of August. The scholarship with the score in the TOEFL.
All right.
So I was thinking to do the test like the last week or maybe the 1 week before the last week. Like the 23, maybe something like that, or maybe in the worst case like the 26, but I will have like in the time just in the limit to send my score.
Yeah, honestly, I think with a month or más o menos ese tiempo, like 3 weeks of preparation, you can make a 90 something score. I think you can, sí la logras aplicar. But yeah, it's a matter of practicing, but I think you can totally make it.
Okay, teacher. Yes, I will do the TOEFL test simulations
Yeah,
this week.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, dale.
Yes,
All right, so I'll be checking out those as well.
Okay, teacher. Thank you so much.
All right, dale, Fabiola. See you then. See you next week.
Okay, thank you,
Have a nice
teacher.
weekend. Bye.
Bye bye.